please see me after class and we'll sort that out. We're also going to get an update from Fable. They've got a big community prize. If you're into writing, there was the Sydney Writers Fest that was on every year. And I'm not much of a writer, blogs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's definitely a writing kind of mood that's out there. And Fableration are giving away a massive kind of prize. So, keep an eye out for that. Welcome, Suzanne. Thanks for joining in. And we've got Adrian here, Ron, Marina, Frank, a lot of people. This is great. Now, the great thing with these online events, folks, is that people can join in from the comfort of your own home or your own state, because not everyone is in Sydney. And there's a lot of great events that are out there, probably more that need to be done in other cities. Wink, wink, Suzanne. Hopefully we'll get some stuff going in Adelaide. And I'm even getting people to ask, getting people ask me about the Google Meets right now on WhatsApp. So I'm more with some other folks, and we'll just wait a few more seconds as more people come in. But the first couple of minutes, we're going to do updates. Then we're going to see some stuff from Fableration, etc. Then we're also going to go to Mike from Chainalysis for some reports. If you haven't heard about them, they've got a lot of great data. Then we'll go to Corey. We'll hear about Blubird. I'll talk about some of the stuff that we've done with Red Belly Network, Corey building on that. Ian, thanks for joining us. We'll hear from you about what you're doing with BLOCKv, some really interesting stuff there. And throughout it all, folks, I'll give some updates on what is going on. There's Will. All right, with that, I'm going to get started. I'm going to do a screen share now. So just give me a second. Just move things around on screen here. But basically, I'll do a few community updates about what's going on. Then a few more other things. We've got, hang on a second. Mark Ho, thanks for joining us from, Mark is from OKX and more. So I'm going to screen share now. So 1 sec, I'll make sure that everyone can see my screen. Presentation starting, yes it is. Alrighty, screen one. All right. You should be able to see my screen now. And if you cannot, put something in the comments. Yep, all good. All right, so 28th of May, this is the monthly update. First of all, things that have been happening over the last month. We are going to also do another a live event next month, and then we'll do some more online stuff as well. So we'll like to mix them up. If this is your first time, we've got a what do you call it, a link tree with all the links to the YouTube, the Meetup. You would have found this through Meetup, or maybe you found it through somewhere else, but there's a whole heap of stuff going on here. We'll come back to that link tree. And then in terms of updates, our event on the 30th of April, so last month, we were sponsored by Stand With Crypto. They're out of the support from Coinbase, Australia, and around the world. They're in the UK, the US. Australia is one of the places where Stand With Crypto is a thing. You can go to the website. I'll link that later on. But what it is advocacy for this space. We just had an election. Now, whether your candidate got in or not, the hard work starts now, where we actually have to educate a lot of the ministers about the benefits of digital and tokenization and blockchain. And it's not just crypto stuff. There's inefficiencies in the way we live and do things in finance and other payments, and how can blockchain help that? And then we also had a great talk from Proof of Search. So Kevin Gibson here. All of this you can watch in replay, folks. So on our YouTube, you'll be able to see that. And then we also saw Calicu give their update. So you've got Josephine and Katarina here talking about some of the stuff Katarina's doing overseas with her retail and fashion related crypto stuff. She's based in Jamaica, but is an expat Aussie on the right. Sorry. And then we also had Zero Cap give some updates as well. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm looking a little laggy on my side there. All good? Okay. I think I'm running off the phone here, so I'm just going to plug it in just so that we don't all of a sudden lose internet. But yeah, so we had Zero Cap Praz give us some great updates there. And then we also had Harry from a uni group. So it's a conglomeration of different universities instead of just the one crypto group at UNSW or Adelaide University or RMIT. It's one group that's connecting to them all. So UNCB, and he was talking about some events there. And then we also have a sponsorship announcement, Take 3, you guys may have heard of. They're a marketing group. They do a lot of stuff in TradFi as well as Web3, and Take 3 is the brand that's doing that. They help out the Digital Economy Council of Australia. They help out many others. And they did want me to tell you guys this, that they're also helping out folks that if you use these AI tools and they do search, hey, they are helping companies get optimized. No worries, Suzanne. They are helping companies get optimized so that if you do search with AI, you are being seen there, because SEO is definitely important. So they'll be coming up with a new product soon. This is the website if you haven't seen it already, and defi.org.au. It is now AI powered, I would say. You can see it like this. There's a menu on the top right. There's various things. I will get to that in live demo later on in the show. You can explore the videos and ask questions whilst you're watching the videos. Even this video, this is going to get put online very soon. And then you can, if you miss something, Mike said something funny, and just type in, what was the funny thing Mike said? And it will quote him. So Mike, be careful. Or make Mike funny. I don't know. Like, depends on how you go tonight. We'll see how you perform. But you've got the episodes here for podcasts as well. We do a great thing with Fableration. Fableration is helping the publishing community. So if you're a book writer, it's not easy just using centralized kind of tools and middlemen and the things that blockchain solves. So they're looking at blockchain to help solve for that. So that's really good. We've got the podcast here on this blockchain for good theme. So we had Jono from TRM Labs. He's from a former law enforcement kind of background. We had Mehdi. He runs Sigma Prime here in Sydney. If you guys didn't know this, Sigma Prime, they created software that runs 30% or over 32% of Ethereum node validators. Ethereum would not run without an Aussie company. If you didn't know that, fun fact. We also had Amanda Wick, who's a former federal prosecutor turned crypto advocate. Okay, she was on the January 6th committee to with the whole kind of Trump thing. She's been a very prominent lawyer in the US space, and we're very lucky to have her on our side, because if she was against you, she would, she would find and do many things there that would be hard to get away from. And we don't have folks like that. We're all very good folks in the room here. So here's Jono's podcast. You can watch that, ask AI questions, etc. So Fableration, I don't know if we've got Lisa in the room. I will come back to that, but put it this way, there is a lot of money on show. There is a lot of prizes for writing, creative writing, writing about futuristic things, blockchain, AI. So you should check out the competition. You can scan that QR code. If you miss it, I will just put a link into the chat and you'll be able to see that. But, I think this competition is running till September or October or something, but each period that passes by, it gets more expensive to buy in. But it is a writing competition, a short story, I think 2,000 to 5,000 words. It should be easy, right? But I think because of that, there's a lot of entrants. So you want to stand out. The next one, before we get to the guests here. So OKX have a community thing called Generation Zero, or Generation On-Chain, Generation O, I should say. And this is their work to help bring more people on-chain, to bring more people to the OKX community, yes, but also to the overall crypto community. And we're becoming part of that. What you can do to start off with is you can go to the link I'll show you next, the QR code link. You can create your own fingerprint, and that fingerprint is unique to you. You choose symbols here. There's a cool animation that gets shown. I've created mine, and then you can share that with others, and you can do that here with this QR code. So this QR code that's here, basically takes you to the Generation O website, or it should. I'll put some other links when others are talking. I'll share all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, you can sign up and join all of that. Tonight's guests. So if you watched the last month live episode, you saw that we do play around with AI. There was the whole Studio Ghibli kind of themed one from 2 events ago. There's these, I don't know what you call them, but like little toy capsule toy things that you can turn people into now. That seems to be like, I haven't seen a new theme. I was going to change themes each month, but you know, if something's working, don't break it. So you'll meet some folks tonight. Corey on the left here, who's in the audience, but we've turned him into a little capsule toy pet. Mike, this is you. This is you with your investigator kind of, what do you call that? Like magnifying glass and a laptop there. And then we've also got Ian. This is you looking serious with the laptop and, you know, developer kind of hat on. And we have Lisa, who was on the stage. Actually, she was on video last time, but we had her as part of our last meetup. And when she does come in later on, we'll get an update from the numbers, because I want you guys to hear about, you know, how many people are actually writing these stories. You might hear a number and go, hang on, I've got a really good chance here. I should enter that. And I say yes, because I'm going to enter it. So good luck to all of us. So these are our guests. We'll talk to the community stuff more. There's an opportunity to ask questions and stuff, but let's get underway. Mike, the stage is yours. Let me know when you want me to click through and everything, but I will go silent now. Can you come up on stage, Mike?
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry, I was just getting my Gen-O little fingerprint, so you caught me at it. So look, really appreciate the opportunity, and look, you know, Mark does an amazing job, and I don't think he gets as much congratulations as he really deserves for everything he puts together. And you know, I find enough time doing what I do, so I don't know how Mark does what he does. So he's awesome. So thank you for inviting us to do this, and it's crazy how much you do for the community. So thank you once again. For those who don't know me and don't follow me on LinkedIn or other stuff, I work for Chainalysis in Australia. I've been with the team for about 3 years. Primarily, you know, a lot of my job is, you know, working with the local exchanges, used to be working with, you know, public sector as well, but primarily focused on private sector. But, you know, a huge amount of my day is, you know, unfortunately dealing with scams and dealing with a lot of illicit activity that we, you know, generally don't want on our platforms and generally don't want in our ecosystem. So what we do is we help organizations stay safe, we help organizations identify risk, and we also help bring security to platforms with, you know, our security tools, such as we just acquired a company called Hexagate. But unfortunately, a lot of what I do is around spending time, you know, listening and understanding victim stories and understanding how they were scammed and other things like that, and try to identify the MOs so we can actually identify them and help bring those down and make our place a safer place. Next slide, please. We also help organizations, you know, freeze and recover. We do get a lot of local requests saying, hey, I've just lost some money. Look, realistically, it's very hard to get funds frozen on chain. It's hard to get funds recovered on chain. And, you know, you can see some eye-watering numbers, and basically these are things that would go off to, you know, make the world an unsafer place. You know, the funds that were getting frozen are the ones that would have ended up in North Korea, Iran, Russia, etc. So whilst we are seeing huge organized challenges with scams, with people being hacked, phished, and everything else, it takes a lot of work for us to freeze these, and there's a lot of organization that comes together across the ecosystem, so to make sure that these funds don't end up into hands that they shouldn't be ending up into. Next slide, please. And what we do internally is we sit there understanding how on-chain behavior happens and what happens on-chain. We try to identify real-world entities and real-world services. We're not there to be the police. I know I've heard that multiple times with an ecosystem. We really don't care about Mark's wallet and Mike's wallet and Rachel's wallet and everyone else's wallet. We really couldn't care less what you do with your wallet. We're not there to identify people. We're identifying organizations and services of interest. We want to know what things are there and shouldn't be there, or what things are operating that shouldn't be operating on that platform, in order to make things a safer place. And those things are what, whether we like it or not, that our federal agencies, our federal ministers look at in order to making decisions that should they actually start to put in laws that allow us to adopt this technology and to grow our ecosystem. So we're there to identify these things. We cluster them together to make services, and we analyze them and tag them based upon their risk from what they do. Next slide, please. And we're not there to guess. We use real-world information and real-world heuristics that can stand up in courts of law, that can be admissible. So we don't use probability. We use confirmed knowledge that this thing is what it is. And we do that in order to help identify the depth and the accuracy of those things, in order to provide the key insights to the right people to make that forward. Next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned earlier, look, I do spend a lot of my time in the scam world. This is one section that I spend. Look, it's really hard to say how many times a day I deal with scams, but I also use this as a pet project whenever I get approached on Telegram, WhatsApp, etc., because it really irritates me that I get these messages and I spend time winding them up and spending time finding out the information, pretending I'm the victim. So I spend time personally, I don't get paid to do it. I actually quite enjoy talking to these scammers and try winding them up just to get the information out what they're doing. But what we're really seeing is scams is just prevalent everywhere. And I spent a lot of time in schools educating kids, educating e-commerce classes, etc., around this. And it really comes down to, we just don't do enough education as an ecosystem and as a community around what this is, around whether it's people where English is their first language or it's not their first language, but also, a lot of the times that we end up believing what's on the other end of the screen, and not, what we used to do is question the information that we're being told. And that's primarily where we're ending up. And, Mark's commented, if I counted how many times Mark mentioned AI today, realistically, that's exactly what we're dealing with now. We have AI for good, but we also have AI for bad. Next slide, please.
I was just going to say, Mike, on that note, what you said there with the scams, there are AI tools that are helping to, whilst you enjoy it, there are others that maybe don't. And I've seen people create, I think it was like 002, whatever the telco is in the UK, created an AI bot to just take up the time of the scammers, sound like a little old man or old lady, and just really, just waste their time, which is a great idea. We can use this technology for good. Next slide, here you go.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. So look, realistically, we also see a lot of the work targeting investment scams. So it's not just the young, it's the old, it's the affluent. And, these things act as businesses at the end of the day. They profile their victims. They understand their behavior from online. They understand what would make them move more. So relationship scams, romance scams, investment scams, and they home in pretty well from that point of view. And, we spent a lot of time with the National Anti-Crime Scam Centre looking at job scams, and primarily those are focused on people that need to earn money for education purposes, pay courses, or looking for quick, easy money. And, people just fall into that trap because they think they're getting something for nothing or something for cheaper. But, the idea that you're fattening people up along the way is what we call pig butchering. So, that old paradigm of, making the pig fatter and fatter before you actually slaughter them. And that's pretty much what these scammers are doing. They're fattening people up with convincers and everything else before they take everything. Next slide, please. One other interesting point, and I don't know if anyone on this call has heard about this, it's an idea called address poisoning, where you've got scammers trying to create addresses that look like your addresses or look like the addresses that you're sending to. So they will sit there on all of the Blockchain Explorer websites, and they will try to identify people with money who are sending to other addresses. And they will look to clone or create an address that looks exactly like that one, so that they can send you a $0 thing into it. So you're the last address in their address book, so you can copy and paste it. And so address poisoning is where the start and the end looks pretty much the same, and the rest of the middle is completely obviously not yours or not theirs. And we're seeing a lot of people just copying and pasting the last address they sent to, and sending lots and lots of money to these scammers because it's costing them nothing to blast these out and build code to detect these on open chain explorers, generate addresses that look pretty similar to it, and then send a $0 or $1 or something to their wallet in order to be a copy and paste. And if you think if that's done on scale, you've only got to get 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 1,000,000 to be successful in terms of that, because it's low cost, high value back. So again, it's another problem that we're seeing in society around this education people, around understanding what addresses are, understanding that the thing in the middle might not be your same address. So even if you see the start and the end, go from there. But yeah, we do see addresses being that one hurdle of how do people get over it, understanding the behavior of an address. Next slide, please.
Just on that, I've seen, was it the Bybit hack where the senior leadership didn't properly check? They just, copy pasted addresses, or was it something else there?
There's something, yeah, the Bybit's an interesting conversation, and this is all public. I'm not telling anything different. And it's very similar to the WazirX hack. Those were phished. They were phished. They had a client-side hack on terms of it. And so they were actually pasting it to the right address, but their messages were intercepted and going to the wrong, they were bypassing the dual signer part. So again, there's nothing Web3 around it. It could have been a banking app. It could have been any type of app. It's basically, they had a client-side breach on that. But again, you got to check where you're sending it to. You got to check, just like you're signing that transfer, when you sign the transfer, you got to make sure that you know what you're understanding when you're signing it. And clearly they were just pushing the button and not checking the signing and allowed it to go through. What I think is quite timing, I want to talk a bit about what's been in the news recently, because a lot of people probably don't know who this is and what it is. So it's an interesting topic. The whole part of these sessions is to learn something, not show you slides around numbers. And given that we've been talking around AI quite a lot, I thought it was quite interesting that this is actually quite a fitting conversation to look at. So for those who don't know, Wayone is a Cambodian organization. It's a very interesting one from a political point of view, because it has linkages all the way through to the cousins of the Prime Minister of Cambodia. So it has investments that way. It's also the only official digital exchange operating in Cambodia. So it's actually the only on and off ramp for a lot of people sending money to Cambodia from a digital point of view. But it's actually 3 different components to it. So there's 3 components to it. There's Wayone Crypto, there's Wayone Pay, and there's Wayone Guarantee, which is the part I'm going to focus in on and talk about. And so when you're looking at on-chain behavior, just like anything else, like if you looked at Coinbase or you look at OKX, you're basically seeing just a clustered set of addresses. You don't know what's operating on top of it. And at the end of the day, you still have to go back to a Web 2 side to understand what's interacting with that chain and that on-chain behavior. So when we start to look at Wayone in terms of what they were doing and what they were receiving, yes, they had a lot of legitimate funds coming into their platform. They were actually facilitating a lot of remittances and money going home. So, part of their product was very legitimate until, somewhere around March 2025 this year, that the Cambodian National Bank decided to debank them because they were just not meeting their compliance points of view. So if you think you've got a traditional finance arm of a Cambodian financial exchange that has fears of being, debanked themselves from the rest of the world, you start to see the actions of what we're seeing going forward from that point of view. Next slide from that point of view, we'll go on a bit more. But the other part of Wayone was basically a marketplace, and it was a marketplace where anyone could facilitate selling code or selling artifacts or selling services. And a lot of what we found is that there were a lot of vendors in this P2P marketplace selling, AI chatbots, or the ability to change your face code, or the ability to sell ransomware or malware or anything else that you wanted. Basically, it was like a darknet marketplace that was operating quite clearly on the web. It had banking rails through Wayone. It was allowing people to sell whatever they wanted, from escort services to AI deepfake software, etc., etc. So, realistically, what we were seeing was a lot of scammers were going to these sites and purchasing software or infrastructure or things that would then go on and provide them capability to scam people from that point of view. So imagine, like the Amazon, place we can go and find a marketplace or whatever you want to buy and being able to transact that within crypto. So you've got pseudo-anonymous capability that way. Next slide, please. And so what we were starting to see was that there was huge amounts of AI software vendors, data vendors, infrastructure vendors, just hosting their infrastructure or being able to sell their infrastructure on these platforms. And, go on to the next slide, it's probably a bit more interesting. We're starting to see, just examples of people being able to change their face and face software. You can buy some software, pay for it within crypto, and automatically have some software that allowed you to change your face or provide face software that allowed you to go off and do whatever you wanted to do. So, I know Mark knows this story super well around those Hong Kong capital investors that had the conversations with, they thought they were having a conversation with the CEO, etc. This is the capability that's now prevalent in our marketplace, and it's prevalent within our ecosystem that, anyone can go on to an Amazon.com, which is what we've got here pretty much. It's a Hawaii on guarantee website, and purchase some software that allows them to be anyone else. And because there's no controls in place, there's no, it's not like Apple where they're checking the code. It's just a marketplace where they're clipping the ticket. You can pay in crypto and away you go. You could come up with your own artifacts and sell it tomorrow.
On that note, Mike, I've seen some people like they were recording it live where they were interviewing potential devs, and it just looked funny to them. And sure, in future, the technology is going to get better, but they were trying to get, because the face filter thing was on, they were trying to get the person, put your hand in front of your face so it would disrupt the filter. And the person on the other side didn't want to do that. And so as soon as they said, yeah, I'm not going to put my hand in front of my face, they're like, yeah, this call is done. So there are some ways to check, but it's like, it's not a natural thing to ask for that, right? So I think more awareness, but it really interesting to highlight here. Do you want the next slide?
Leave on this one for a minute, because I'm just going to add something else. And I found a couple of romance scams as well, and I had amazing conversations with them. And the image quality that they were sending me back was, some of them were passing AI detection tests as well, and some weren't. So without someone who's savvy enough to understand there could be a scam on the end of the line, you can see how this technology is fooling a lot of people, and it's a big concern for us as a community, and it's a big concern for us as a Western society around how much money is being lost to these types of things. And it's something to be aware of. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, and so, the wonderful thing about on-chain is the fact you can trace this stuff. It's so much richer than the fiat system around having this information. And we sit there talking to banks, we sit there talking to law enforcement, we sit there talking to MPs and parliament members. There's just so much information sitting there. You know exactly what's going on. So you can actually work out that who are the software vendors, who are the buyers, and you can start to piece together, what exactly is going on and where they're being used for. Next slide, please. And from that point of view, you can find the victims that are actually falling victim to it, paying the AI software buyers, whatever it is that they're paying for, whether it's sextortion cases, relationship scams, investment scams, or whatever they're falling into, and that these buyers are then just going off and paying the software vendors whatever they need to do to purchase the next part. So we end up on the next slide. In this vicious cycle for what we're seeing that software vendors are making money, they're getting more money from the pig butchering scams, and they're just buying more software or more infrastructure. So you're in this vicious cycle where, you've got a small amount of money creating the scam, you're finding the victims, you're getting more money back, and then you're just having this elapsed cycle going through it. So, realistically, when it came down to it in May 2025, you may have seen in the news that the United States Treasury Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, the FinCEN, basically designated Huang Group as a primary money laundering concern. They obviously were processing huge amounts of illicit funds without any type of AML, CTF regulation in there. It was backed by the Cambodian National Bank, which then probably saw this coming. So in March 2025, they stopped using them as a banking rails. But at the end of the day, these investigations and these things that we're finding are going so much quicker, but just unfortunately not as quick as the technology is being developed and being deployed. So you are seeing these cycles and these patterns going much, much quicker, which is an overall concern for us. Next slide. Yeah, I've just covered this one, but yeah. Yeah, that's primarily what I thought was quite an interesting thing to bring up, given how recent it's been talked about and the fact that we keep talking about AI at the moment. So yeah, be careful who you trust out there at the end of the day.
Isn't it funny though, Mike? Like I know that you and I will, and this is a bit of insight, folks. I've known Mike since the whole time I've been in the space for about 4 years as like a credible source of knowledge. And working at Chainalysis, they're very data heavy. My background is as a data scientist. One of the draw cards to crypto is that you can do, let me just go back a few slides there. Sorry, Corey's slide there, but just the ability to link transactions together. We ran some sessions, Mike, on training people how to use the Chainalysis software. And there were some like classroom sessions where you had lessons and seeing how people use the software to do these links and how visual it is. And yet, despite all of that ease with which we can track things and verify and make sure we're not sending it to the wrong addresses, there's still these human fallibilities, like these human weaknesses. We're tired, we didn't check and whatnot. But what is interesting is that we can fight back with education, with tools. And given that AI is like such a thing, like our belief at, Aus DeFi and not centralized where I work, is that blockchain is a benefit to this space, because with blockchain, you can verify things. You can have zero knowledge proofs where you don't sign something unless it's come from that digital ID with the ZK proof on top of there. So in any case, we can dive into that a little bit later. But did you want to cover anything else? Any kind of lessons from things that you've been seeing or things to watch out for the folks watching?
Look, I could talk for hours and days on scams and things we're seeing. Yeah, look, I'm happy to do other conversations that we're seeing with job scams and romance scams and everything else. But yeah, I think this is a nice thing, what people are seeing with these AI tools being generated. So, when I saw the image that you created of me, I thought, oh, that's excellent. But at the same time, I'm deeply worried about how quickly these things are being created as well.
Yeah, the latest update now is that Google dropped about 100 updates, with the highlights being the video generator one, where it's still kind of can look a little bit AI, but it's getting closer and closer to Hollywood level type stuff, or even just legitimate, realistic, where you cannot tell. Some people will probably not be able to tell that it's AI. So being careful around that sort of thing is going to be interesting.
And that's what the interesting thing is. I think, I think about, I've got kids and I worry what they watch and how much they believe and everything else. And you get to the point where we're now in a generation that doesn't question anymore. We're in a generation that believes what they see, whether it's on Twitter, X or Telegram or whatever channel, YouTube or TikTok. We just believe what we're seeing now and we don't doubt and we don't question. Where I think, our generation, I'm not saying that I'm that old, but, we were taught to work things out and question. And I think that's a big concern for us.
Absolutely. So we need to bring back some of that questioning in. If folks want to reach out to you, Mike, and connect, where is the best for you?
Yeah, feel free to drop me an email, mikem@chainalysis.com. And my Telegram is MikeMNFT. _ETH.
Fantastic. Mike, thanks so much for the insights that you showed there. Some really interesting stuff from Chainalysis. Go to the website, folks. I put it in the Google Meets chats, and there's a lot of reports that you guys have. If you like data like I do, you will spend some good time ripping out some of the charts there. So thanks very much, Mike. We'll bring up Corey now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Corey, if you're in the room, come up on stage.
Mark, how are you today?
Mates, it's not been too long, has it, since we last spoke? And I believe it's the same shirt that you've got there.
Indeed, mate. I was actually just having a bit of a giggle to myself when you had the, here we go.
I'm bringing it back up. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. I was like, oh man, I feel exposed.
You know, you've got a brand like Zuckerberg, like Jobs, you know, you've got a brand and you just got all gray or all black, or in your case, all checkered. I think it's a good look, man, with the beard. It's the rugged looks there for, you know, what you're building. I love it.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. And to be honest, there was an event that I spoke at down in Sydney that Helix Collective was hosting late last year. And I wore, I think, this shirt that I'm wearing tonight. And the guys who hosted it, they loved it, to be honest. And they said, look, mate, every time you come and speak here, you've got to wear that shirt. So I've made it a point to to kind of stick to that. And ever since, yeah, that's sort of just been it. So no, that's really funny. Fantastic.
Well, crypto lumberjack or blockchain lumberjack or something, we'll work that out. But I'm going to go over to your slide here, and just while I do that, by way of background, and I'll go to this at the end and show people the end of the podcast we did, because you're building on Red Belly. Very importantly, we've got some folks from the community here. We do some stuff with Red Belly too. Great Aussie blockchain. You know, check it out, folks. But Blubird that people can see here. You're the founder of this. People may not have seen the podcast, so we'll dive into some questions here. So let's just take it a step back, rewind for a moment. What sparked the idea for Blubird? What is it?
Yeah, so I guess it all stems from my experience in Web3, and primarily that is, you know, it started in early 2017, worked with a lot of projects over that time span. Either helping them launch or advising them. I've helped launch about 100 projects, sat on about 40 advisory boards, and there was a lot of similar issues that I kept seeing. So a lot of that was most of their data is on spreadsheets. We're looking at, you know, cap tables, we're looking at tokenomics. You know, a lot of the, you know, just the general distribution data for their token and such like that is all on spreadsheets. And a few times I've also seen mistakes happen where they've had to redeploy their smart contracts due to, you know, errors in the calculations, or someone fat-fingered a number. So essentially, enough is enough. Basically, I thought, well, there's nothing really out there that quite solves a complete turnkey solution. So yeah, that's what we set out to do. Now it's expanded beyond that, quite a lot beyond that, at its current state. We've now branched out into RWAs and throughout there. But you know, that was the starting idea, was really just to create that turnkey solution for a founder who could be technical or non-technical, it doesn't matter. They can come in, they can, you know, build out their tokenomics, their cap table, and eventually deploy their smart contracts, whether it be vesting contracts or, you know, or the actual token itself, or an NFT.
Fantastic. There's a lot of good stuff there, and I think you hit the nail on the head of a problem that really needs to be solved, because those inefficiencies can mean the difference between getting money and being able to pay your devs now from what you're raising, and being able to launch a product that society needs, and it getting delayed however many days, weeks, months. You described Blubird as simplifying the complexities of Web3 operations. What did those complexities look like when you first encountered them?
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest one would be the data. So for example, your tokenomic data is pretty well the lifeblood of any Web3 project. It flows through all of your documents right up until distribution. So that was probably the largest one. Not so much technical, but something that's very underutilized is a lot of cap tables and the value adds that investors or participants, however you want to place them, a lot of those promises that they make early on to projects to get set allocations, they don't often get utilized very well, because, to be honest, founders just forget. They don't know how to run their cap tables properly. The information, unless it's in front of them, you know, easy to access, it just gets buried and never touched again. And if I'm being honest, the success of a lot of projects could have turned out a lot differently. They had have really just, really just taken on board the proper, cap table, usage, a lot like how Web2 do it. Maybe not so much on the promises side, but more so just how intently it's managed.
I wasn't sure if there was a hand up there. We might get to questions at the end of this. Sebastian, put your hand up again, or put something in the chat if you did want to ask a question, and we'll get to that at the end. Okay, if that's okay with you, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does Blubird, would you say, like, there's other token launch platforms, right? This is not a new thing, but you're trying to differ from them or other cap table tools that we've seen. What do you say to that?
I would say that we're probably the most comprehensive turnkey solution at this stage, because we do have our investor portal that couples with the cap table side and our deployment engine, along with our universal claims portal. So there's about 5 applications in total that really come together on the Web3 founders side. But even beyond that, our roadmap encompasses some AI tools as well, to really help people get a bit of a head start when it comes to the tokenomics side. We're using about 30,000 data points on that one. It's not live yet, but we're getting there. And as well as just in general, we've got Web2 equity tools that are coming out as well, which every Web3 company still has to manage their Web2 equity. We haven't gone that far yet, at least not in the majority of cases. So having all of those softwares essentially under one roof and handling the same data sets is probably the biggest defining point there. I think that pretty well covers that.
Let's go through a use case, like if you could describe like a real world use case where Bluebird's, let's say that they help from idea, that very starting point to launch. It's almost like the farm to fork kind of thing, but idea to launch, not quite as catchy, but where's Blubird done something there?
Yeah, definitely. So there's projects that we've also incubated. So that comes back from my experience advising projects and launching projects in the past. As well as I've got a VC that I co-run with a good friend and partner of mine as well, business partner. So basically, we've worked with projects where we take them through all of the education that founders often lack but need to make it in this space. We help them map out their tokenomics on the software itself. We can do a lot of A/B testing, run a few different scenarios of how much money they actually need, help them map out their runway, and then take that back to the tokenomics, all of that side of things, and make sure that a lot of their treasury management is going to work properly. A lot of the token inflow into the actual market itself isn't too damaging for what they're trying to undertake as a business. And then also, again, through the incubation phase, we've helped them raise funds. We've introduced them to influencers, market makers, exchanges, launch pads, the whole nine yards basically. And then through to the deployment engine, which we actually just took it on its maiden voyage last week. Now we're equipped to basically complete that full circle and deploy those smart contracts, and deploy either their token or the actual vesting contracts on that side, as well as ESOP contracts as well for staff members, employees of those companies as well. On the other side, we've got the investor portal. So as each project, they onboard their cap table to our system, every invite goes out with an investor portal email to the participant. So then the user base grows on that side. There is a KYC inbuilt to the investor portal itself, which, funny you're talking about fraud just in the last segment. One of my concerns is actually on the KYC side, because we pride ourselves on being able to say people are who they say they are on our platform. If they're a large influencer, if they're a big VC, things like that, we we really have to be able to say that, yes, you know, they are who they are. It's not a fake case. And with our KYC, there is a liveness check. It's like a video type thing where they move their face on different angles, and it checks it against their passport or driver's license. My concern is that, like what was stated just before, these filters essentially that fake someone's face, that can trick that system. So it is a bit of a concern for us and the provider that we use. So I just wanted to quickly bring that up as well, because it's a really, really fantastic point where probably don't hear too many cases of actual business saying, hey, this is a concern for us in the very immediate future. But here we are. So sorry, I just wanted to add that into there because I thought it fit quite nicely. But yeah, so as like a use case, that's one of them on the Web3 side. Then we have our RWA tokenization suite. So that is a asset and chain agnostic platform. So we can work with virtually any asset class and virtually any layer 1 or layer 2. Our favorite, of course, is Red Belly. We do kind of, well, look, we don't push people towards it, but we do educate them on the benefits of Red Belly versus some other chains like Polygon and, you know, BSC and all the rest of them. So, you know, we've taken a company such as Arx Veritas. They have capped oil wells, they've got coal mines, and, you know, a bunch of other assets as well. They've come to us and said, hey, you know, we need to be able to tokenize these and offer them to our existing clientele. So essentially, we work with them to understand the type of asset class that we were working with. In this case, they are emission reduction units or emission reduction assets. So a little bit different to a carbon credit. And, you know, keyed up the system. And, you know, there's a built-in OTC marketplace as well, which again has the KYC. And basically, you know, we've helped facilitate a couple of transactions to date. Nothing huge, but we're only just getting going at this point. And speaking of, I think, Mark, last time we spoke, I mentioned about RWA.io, how in one to 2 weeks we'd have some assets live. So as of this morning, we got $28 billion of assets up on there, which is actually just one asset. It's a coal mine out of the US. So massive achievement on that front to get that, I suppose, recognized on that dashboard as well. But yeah, those are the two, I suppose, major scenarios that we can work with. As we grow our product though, as we open up new features, we're going to start having a bit more inflow, more use cases for you know, VCs on the investor side, so investor portal side, sorry, where they can come in, they can actually do very, very deep due diligence on projects that might have a pre-seed, a seed, or private round open, and eventually equity rounds as well, once we have our Web2 tooling up and operational as well. So it's really going to be quite the project hub overall.
Yeah, it sounds like it. There's a lot of depth there. People were asking about the link. I've just put that in the chat, so feel free to check that out. And you know, I'll share with you folks like the video that we did before as well. I've got a question on market and growth trajectory. You're looking at let's call it a $22 trillion opportunity across like Web 2, Web 3, RWA tokenization. Where do you think the strongest traction is right now, given what you see?
Yeah, so I think it's in two sectors. I think the Web3 founders side is a very high growth sector as well at the moment. I mean, sure, we've gone through a bear market just recently, but you know, it goes through its phases and it's inherently still high growth. But the tokenization, the real world asset side, is by far the biggest mover in this case. And I think it will be for quite a number of years to come. We're only just seeing the larger institutions starting to take, you know, notice. They're doing quite large numbers, but in comparison to the overall global scope of it, they're just scratching the surface. There's really you know, a whole lot more of you know, assets out there that are just not even recognized at this point. You know, we've got assets that they're sitting on spreadsheets, so to speak. They're illiquid because no one has a way to really trade them, but they still hold intrinsic value. So I think we're going to start to see a lot of these type of assets come on board as well as the usual, bonds and other types of standard Web2 assets that get tokenized as well as a few more unique cases. Like one I like to explain because everyone can sort of really easily grasp it, is mines, like gold mines, coal mines, rare earth elements, things like that. Most mines, they undertake a lot of funding rounds. It is basically what they live and breathe is funding to do exploration. What we can do is we can actually tokenize said exploratory endeavors as futures contracts. Essentially, it sounds like Web3. Indeed, it does. So essentially, we can tokenize these exploratory endeavors as futures contracts. If the mine does the exploratory work and they make it big, essentially those contracts can then pay out in the form of like a profit share of the mine or however they want to, program it and have that legal wrapper set up around it. But essentially, it gives a very unique perspective on how now mines is just one example, but how they can now raise capital, not just locally with very specialized firms that usually handle that, but now all of a sudden those can go into public markets. And now the average person can go and purchase a futures contract in, let's just say, some copper exploration in Canada, or it might be a lithium mine, whatever industry that you feel like might be in high demand. You can now go and back them and be a part of their success as well. So there's I think a whole new wave of fresh assets that just don't exist at this point that we're going to start to see, and I think 22 trillion is really a drop in the ocean to what it can be.
Yeah, that's the small part, folks. And what you said there with the mine, that's really interesting because institutions are the ones that really were able to invest in mines before, unless something was listed as an equity or listed as something that you could buy as part of an ETF or something. But if you think about it, as they're starting to dig, that's where the highest risk is, because if they dig in the wrong hole, they don't find anything there. You should look up mining documentaries and see how they do it. But as they start to dig and do more, and they're more certain about the possibility of finding something and the yield that they generate off that, the risk becomes lower. So the yield that you get is lower, but there are certain, as with all investments, that yield, there are different people that want to get the high risk stuff because it's higher yield and they're willing to put in money for that. There's people that want to wait until things are more certain. What Corey is providing here is that access. That accessibility has not really been there for retail investors, but now it is. And so we cover a lot of that in the podcast. Let's get to some other questions that we had here in the prep. You mentioned, there was, and maybe this number has to change because of what happened this morning, but it was 65 billion in the pipeline prior to us, this morning as we were prepping in emission reduction assets. You've mentioned to me. How did that come about? What does it say about where you would say like organization is heading?
Yep. So how it came about was, to be honest, through our partnership with Red Valley. They're amazing folks, and what they're doing over there is really, fantastic stuff. But essentially, they came to us and said, hey, how close are you to being finished with your tokenization suite? To which I said, how quickly do you need it? As the conversations always go, right? And then we just basically worked with the company at that point, work with them to key the system and such like that. So that's sort of how it came about through that sense. So a bit of the right time, right place, right time, but as well as having the right product market fit as well. So the pipeline itself, so that 28, it's actually 28.7 billion that's showing right now on rwa.io under the carbon assets, if you wanted to have a look at that now. So that is a part of the 65 billion total pool. What we're going to do is just start putting the rest of the assets on over this week. But that 28 billion is a coal mine. It's in the US, and essentially what they've done there is they've bought the land and lease to said mine for 100 years. Oh, sorry, 50 years. And they've got some contractual agreements that just state that said mine is not going to get mined. The coal reserve that exists in this mine, they've calculated that. So based on the non-mining activities and value of said and size of said coal reserves and the validation requirements that they've now satisfied, those are now emission reduction assets, which then as a company you would buy a emission reduction unit. So essentially, we just solved a problem for them, and that's how to make, how to prevent greenwashing of said assets, because they traditionally live on spreadsheets and there's no real good way to update it, especially if you've got multiple people selling on your behalf. It's really just not a viable way to do it. Not only that, it allows these assets to become insured. So it opens up the ability to create like I believe, and don't quote me on this, a parametric insurance cell is, and I'm not a finance guy, so I don't know what that actually means, but I'm told it's unique for this asset class. And yeah, basically, I think what it's saying is where it's heading is that the tokenization of said assets is allowing for a whole new asset class, of assets being able to exist in the first place. So it's going to be interesting, is what it is.
I'll go to one more question. I just put in a quick Google, not ChatGPT, actual Google, of what parametric insurance is. Corey, you mentioned there, and this is the last question, there's plenty more that we can do. I'll point people to the podcast, but stick around if however long you can stay. You mentioned integration and collaboration in our chats with about 17 blockchain networks. What do networks need most from tooling platforms like what you've got today?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the network. For example, when it comes to the Sonium blockchain that we're working with, which is Sony's layer 2, we're looking to be a part of part of their collaborations, where essentially they work with projects, they onboard projects that want to launch a token. It could be in gaming, it could be some sort of IP tokenization. So essentially we just work with them, help them understand what we're able to provide said projects, and understand the pain points that the projects that they work with are having, and really just fit our solution into where it sits best in amongst that. We don't try and make a square block fit through a round hole or anything like that. But look, if I'm being honest, our solution is so broad spectrum and robust across all areas. There's not much where we can't really assist when it comes to founders. So, for example, with Red Belly, it's a lot on the tokenization side. They don't do so much on the standard projects like utility tokens, at least not yet. Whereas, other chains, even if it's just EVM, across all of the EVM compatible networks and such, they might be just a standard utility token. So that's, the founders tools really equip them the best. Yeah.
Fantastic. Corey, thank you so much for that. I'm just going to show here, let me just go to this, and before we go to BLOCKv, Red Belly Network, folks, if you didn't know it, they're doing these insights talks, and I wear the hat to do a lot of these interviews. And so I'm just going to go here on their Twitter, as you can see, and this is episode 4. That was with Raise and Ferox. They're tokenizing some commodities. Corey, you were on just the week before. Different shirts. My mistake. I thought I had you with another checkered shirt. My bad. No, you had a different style one. I just saw checkered and then I went colorblind. So I just assume here is verifiable truth, just like in blockchain, that you do have more than one shirt. So I think that's good. Corey, thank you so much.
No worries.
I will bring Ian up on stage, but folks, check out this red belly thing. I will put the links in the chat. But Ian, if you're around, come on down.
I am, mate.
Okay, fantastic. Let me just pause. Sorry, just pause here, get you back up and slideshow. Ian, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Well, thank you, mate. And I just made note of what I'm wearing this time so that I can make sure that my wardrobe changes for our meetings. And
mate, if you want to confuse Mark, just wear the same shirt 2 times in a row and he'll think it's the same day. Who knows? But hey, great title here. For folks that are in the room, Ian's been regular to our latest Aus DeFi events online and here in Sydney. We've been speaking for a little while. I've been hearing more and more about BLOCKv, so it's great to finally get you up on stage to share more of what you shared with me with the folks here. So tokenizing digital goods and product experience, what have you got to show for us?
So I've got a bit of a presentation to go through. So yeah, thanks, Mark. Look, so today I'll introduce BLOCKv, a Web3 operating system that brings tokenization to life for real world use cases. BLOCKv platform enables turning all kinds of digital and physical goods into blockchain-based tokens, what we call smart NFTs, that carry rich data and utility. So in this brief presentation, we'll show how blockchain is powering tokenization across digital products, supply chains, and loyalty and engagement programs, all while providing scalability and tools for people with great tokenization ideas. So yeah, so we're going to dive in and see how BLOCKv is unlocking new value through tokenization. So before we jump into use cases, here's a quick overview of BLOCKv. We've built a Web3 operating system, essentially a platform where NFTs are not just images, but smart, interactive digital objects. So BLOCKv was founded in Switzerland in 2017 and has been pioneering experiential NFTs since. So what does that mean? It means an NFT on BLOCKv can be dynamic and it can display rich media. It can change based on time or user actions and really represent real world items. This capability creates a powerful bridge between that digital and physical worlds. For example, brands have used BLOCKv to drop NFTs that function as prizes in augmented reality hunts, tickets to events, coupons that users can redeem for physical goods. These aren't just concepts. Major enterprises like Visa, Pepsi, OKX, Manchester City, my football team, and the Olympics My Rewards program from 2024 have all run large-scale campaigns on BLOCKv Web3 tech stack. Next slide, please, Mark. Thank you, sir. So we feel BLOCKv earns the Web3 operating system title because it plays the same orchestration role that Windows, macOS, or Android plays in computing. At the bottom, the foundation layer combines an optimized EVM blockchain with cloud content delivery services, where our token V is the gas. This fuses blockchain security with Web2 responsiveness. The tokenization layer defines smart NFT standards and logic. And this is ensuring every token, whether a loyalty reward, a digital product passport, or a supply chain twin, behaves consistently. And then finally, the application layer exposes a no-code studio and high-level SDKs, lets teams rapidly ship tokenized features without the complexity of that low-level blockchain code. Next, please, mate. So let's talk about tokenizing digital goods. With BLOCKv, any digital item, say a piece of content, a virtual prize, or an in-app item can be tokenized as a smart NFT that's programmable and interactive. So unlike a typical NFT that's just a static image or text, smart NFTs can evolve and respond. So for instance, you could have a digital ticket NFT that unlocks different content before, during, and after an event, or a collectible that changes its look based on the day of the week. The key to this is the metadata inside these tokens. BLOCKv extends the metadata so that tokens can hold complex attributes like expiry dates, location-based unlocks, or redeem functionality for a product. This means your NFTs can double up as coupons that crack open to reveal a prize, a game that levels up as you use it, or membership tokens that updates with new perks. So they also support, one last bit, they also support sort of rich media. So imagine pointing your phone at an NFT and seeing an augmented reality 3D animation pop up. So all this is possible on the platform. Thanks, Mark. So what we want to do is just look at a couple of case studies at enterprise level. The first and obviously our biggest is our Visa case study, which really validates the tokenized loyalty approach on a global scale. Early in 2024, Visa, obviously the payment giant, unveiled a new loyalty and engagement solution. This is essentially Visa saying to its clients, banks, retailers, airlines, etc., we have a next-gen loyalty platform that for you that leverages tokenization and NFTs to engage customers in new ways. So what does it do? A few things. It provides a digital wallet for the end customer where their loyalty rewards live as digital tokens and collectibles. Through that, brands can offer augmented reality promotions, interactive games, treasure hunts, and so many more. Kathleen Pierce-Gilmore from Visa described it as rewarding customers not only for their transactions, but for their active engagement through immersive experiences at their fingertips. Mark, if you could move through, just grab a. So for example, imagine a Visa cardholder gets unique every time they visit a partner coffee shop and collects 5 of them and unlocks a free drink. A bit boring if it's just a standard punch card. A little bit different if it's a digital collectible that you can trade and show off. Or consider an airline launching an Easter egg hunt that's in augmented reality in a city. Find the token and you might win flight miles. All of this can happen on the Visa loyalty platform. Now, the important part for us is that this solution is powered by BLOCKv tech. That gives Visa's platform the ability to mint and manage these intelligent NFTs across different blockchains without the brands having to worry about that blockchain complexity. So it's blockchain agnostic and highly scalable. In fact, Visa chose BLOCKv's tech because it's proven at scale and flexible and not tied really to one chain. This obviously is a huge endorsement, one of the biggest companies betting on tokenized loyalty using smart NFT infrastructure. It reaffirms loyalty points into branded digital assets that consumers can truly engage with. It demonstrates that the market is ready and giant incumbents like Visa see tokenization of the future of loyalty. Next one, please, mate. This is Visa's animation of the text, probably worth having a look at.
I'm not sure if the sound's going to play, but let's see. Can you guys hear it? Can you hear it?
No sound.
Okay.
I mean, I could just talk through it. Well, it's really about, they're trying to just walk through a trip to Paris in regards to going to the airline lounge, doing various activities within again, register and upgrade, get an upgrade to the lounge, then moving through and going in through Paris and being able to do various gamified experiences, looking to be able to try and, you know, get a free bottle of wine and, you know, a meal in certain locations, and really trying to pull that all together where you're getting a really sort of value from your loyalty and rewards program, so that it's not siloed points for something that you don't really want. This is about in real time access to things that would be in point time, like I say, walking past a shop, and those sorts of things. So yeah, probably want to stop it there, Mark, because I guess it doesn't really have the sound, but that's really what the gist of what they're trying to articulate in that that video. So here's a little bit of alpha that's just been announced. So as we know, traditional loyalty programs are siloed, and they're slow to redeem and leave billions in unspent liabilities for different companies. So our tech partner, Smart Media Technologies, they've got a pay with points network that tokenizes points into what they're calling stable points. So these are fungible branded tokens that can be spent like cash via any Visa-enabled tap-to-pay terminal. So what's the value for brands? It's reducing that point liability. It's giving them the ability to acquire new members automatically at redemption, and it's creating cross-brand promotional swaps on self-service dashboards. For the consumer, it's a single wallet, instant redemptions at potentially 80 million locations with no crypto knowledge required. So that really, the ability to move points into stable coins, and then moving those stable coins onto your Visa prepaid cards or Visa credit cards is really the next frontier that we're very excited about. Next one. This is maybe quite interesting for OKX, that obviously you're on this call here. So and also it's really a huge one for me because it's my club, Manchester City, and to see the technology be used in those sort of is a real pleasure to see. So OKX are a key sponsor of Manchester City. It's one of the biggest clubs in Europe. Some people might disagree, but during the last summer, Manchester City toured the US in a pre-season tour, and OKX created a fan engagement experience that followed the teams around the 4 US cities, where fans could look to, again, through an AR sort of treasure hunt, which we might see in a minute, they're able to capture and collect collectibles that were minted to the OKXL1 chain OKT. Mark, I don't know if you could, there's obviously not much sound, but it's fairly visual. We should be okay. You should get the gist of.
There won't be sound on this. It doesn't play through. Don't know what I've done, but if you can talk through it.
Yeah, so this is when the players are just. This is in New York. They're going around with their augmented reality app through their web app. They're able to find assets, collect them, and then you can get sort of merch and access and all sort of upgrades from there. So it's really sort of an interactive experience that ties all the way through to the OKX wallet and through onto their chain as well. So it's really showing the interoperable nature of our tech, and then obviously showcasing OKX's Web3 initiatives with the sponsorship with the football club. Awesome. So obviously we've talked it in a fairly abstract way. What I wanted to show here is this is the My Olympic Rewards app that was built for the Paris Olympics. And again, it's a web app that no one would have known it was a Web3 app. Obviously, it's been designed purely for consumer grade and huge amounts of volumes, obviously, at the Olympics. So these are the types of rewards that you could win if you collect a certain amount of points by doing certain activities, by going around and picking certain things up in person, competitions and quizzes that were actually active during the Olympics. partners such as Intel, they generated, this is an AI generated token or card based on a particular sport that you had as a unique piece of memorabilia. There was also another piece that did with Mway, which is a part of Animoca Brands. This was the official pin of the Paris Olympics, and this was minted through to the base chain. So I think this just shows you all the way through to just to see it on OpenSea. So you can see it being in obviously this, into your non-custodial access to see it through here on OpenSea. So just really sort of highlighting the consumer grade interface, as well as all of the interoperable access and plumbing to multiple L1, L2 chains. Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. So look, now on to tokenization in supply chains and sustainability. So starting with the digital product passport concept. So the European Union has mandated that by 2027, every product sold in the EU must have a digital passport containing information like its origin, material composition, how to repair it, and the environmental impact. So this is a huge challenge from manufacturers, but a huge opportunity for tokenization. And BLOCKv tech allows us to give each physical item a unique tokenized identity. Think of it as a digital twin of the product. Next slide, thanks, Mark. So we've got our DPP case study, which is World of Pi, and this is highlighting BLOCKv's role in digital product passports. So the World of Pi is a venture that is tackling the EU sustainability push. The concept is straightforward but powerful. So each product, be it a chair, be it a light fixture, fashion item, anything that gets its own digital identity or blockchain known as a Pi. Think of a Pi as smart NFT passport for that product. So when the manufacturer produces, say, a piece of furniture, they get a Pi token for it. And that token holds all of the key information: where the chair was made, what materials are in it, how it can be disassembled, recycled, and so on. As the EU mandate started in 2027, this information must be transparently available, and the blockchain approach ensures it's secure and tamper-proof. Essentially, World of Pi leverages BLOCKv to create a full digital companion for every product, and that's from cradle to the grave. That not only helps with regulatory compliance and sustainability, but it also opens new engagement channels. Owners can add content to the Pi, like a service log or even personal notes, making each product story unique. It's a great example of tokenization creating value beyond the initial sale. For BLOCKv, World of Pi is a showcase of how our smart NFTs can serve as the backbone for these digital passports at scale in a user-friendly way, to scan with a smartphone and secure. It's turning the circular economy vision into reality using tokenization. Thanks, Mark. One of BLOCKv's strengths is making all of this advanced tech accessible to developers and creators and entrepreneurs. We often say BLOCKv is built for developers, but it's also friendly to non-developers, and I'll explain all that in a minute. So if you're a developer, you'll appreciate our rich set of SDKs and APIs. So you have an array of SDKs so that you can plug smart NFT capabilities right into your existing applications if needed. SDKs handle heavy lifting like the wallet management, creating wallets, securing private keys behind the scenes, and so on. Displaying NFTs, including 3D and AR content in a native viewer, and interacting with blockchain. So you don't need to have a blockchain expert to add an NFT-based feature into your app. If you prefer direct API calls, we can do that as well. On the flip side, if you're not that technical, we have but you don't have any coding skills, but you have great ideas for tokenization, we haven't left you out. Our no-code studio lets you visually create your NFT experience. This means quicker prototyping and more experiments, which is key, obviously, to the fast-moving world of consumer engagement. Another point for developers is interoperability. As I mentioned before, multiple chains, but we know there are many blockchains out there. These smart NFTs are blockchain agnostic. So you can mint on Solana for one project, OKT for another, for an example, or you can use our L2 EVM chain. And the user wouldn't know the difference between those because the wallet and technology abstracts it. We do actually allow watermarks to show the underlying technology, but that depends on requirements. This means that as a developer, you're never locked in. You can choose a chain based on cost, speed, or the user base, and still leverage those BLOCKv tools. So all these pieces, SDKs, no-code tools, open source, multi-chain, are all about lowering the barrier to entry to this space. So whether you're an entrepreneur, indie dev, or your big brand tech team, BLOCKv provides an on-ramp to building Web3 tokenized experiences quickly and reliably. Thanks, Mark. Next one. Yeah, so in closing, BLOCKv stands out as the Web3 OS for tokenization by delivering on 4 core strengths. Firstly, it introduces smart NFTs, which transform static NFTs into dynamic, interactive experiences, engaging users and even linking to real-world rewards in a digital type fashion. Secondly, BLOCKv has proven scalability. Over 50 million smart NFTs have been minted on the platform, and it's trusted in large scale campaigns by household brands like Visa and the Olympics. We've created over 10 million wallets, I'm not too sure, maybe 11. So that's demonstrating the enterprise grade reliability. Third, BLOCKv offers a robust toolkit for developers and businesses. A no-code, low-code studio, SDKs and APIs is there to hide the blockchain complexity, so teams can integrate tokenization without needing that Web3 experience. And finally, this single platform supports a wide range of use cases, so from powering loyalty and rewards programs all the way through, as I've said, shown to tracking products in a supply chain. Together, these strengths sort of reinforce blockchain's value proposition as a flexible, powerful foundation for the next generation of tokenized experiences, truly living up to its name as a Web3 operating system for tokenization.
Fantastic. There's some questions that are in the chat. If you want to answer those, we'll stick around, Ian. We'll bring you back up. I've just got Lisa Wade, who was meant to be on earlier, just in the audience. So we'll go back to that. But Ian, thank you so much for now. But stick around and see if you want to answer some of the questions that were.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, mate.
In the chat, and we might bring you back up later.
Yeah.
Lisa, are you around? Lisa. If not, 1 second. Are you in? There we go. Sending her a message through the back channels. I'll just come back to that whilst we're getting ready. We've got to go all the way back here. Wish there was a quicker way, but that's okay. Go back through all the Chainalysis stuff there, which is really cool. Hey, you get to see, you know, the what do you call it? The capsule toys in there. 1 sec. No, you're not. Lisa's telling me on WhatsApp she's in. No, you're not in. But anyways, I will get it started. But basically, if you've missed it, Fableration, and there is a link to that I'll put here. You can scan the QR code here. I am absolutely at my limit of doing multi, what do you call it? What's that, folks? Multitasking, because I'm talking whilst also sending Lisa the link to get back in. So 1 sec. But basically, yeah, it's a writing competition, and they've had quite a few folks jump in. There is basically, yeah, a really good opportunity if you're interested in writing to get into something like this and win prizes. finally we are able to, talk about this kind of stuff. It's been in the planning works for a little while. Lisa, are you in now? I just let you in. Lisa. You were before, but now you're not. Nope. Lisa, there you go. Okay. You would have seen that she's in now not. But yeah, if you're interested in writing, basically, hang on, here we go. Lisa. Are you there? Okay, we might skip it for now. We'll come back to that later. If you watch like the next episode, the last episode. Sorry, I'm literally trying to. Okay, someone else wants to join the call. Let's try again. And they're gone. Gotta love doing things live, folks. One second. I'll probably cut this in post. I am not booting you out. So something is auto booting her out. But basically, yeah, if you want to know more about this, let me know. Ian, just while you're still there, that question from the audience, did you answer that one? I didn't see.
Yes, did. Yeah, I'm just going to I'm just going to answer the other one as well.
Yeah, go. Why don't you answer on stage here?
Yeah, sure. So the question was, is BLOCKv on Red Belly? Not at the moment, but it can be integrated pretty seamlessly and be ready to go. So we've worked across between 15 and 25 different L1, L2s in regards to different projects and different campaigns. So yeah, absolutely, it can be. And the second question was from Suzanne. Sorry, I put Susan. Sorry. So diversion from landfill approach is considered very much so with the EU mandate. It is about circular economies, and it's really about being able to reuse and really remove that fast fashion, fast furniture type, whatever's going on at the moment, and to be creating pieces of furniture and products that will be resold, be refurbished and reused over and over again. So you've got a lot more of a longevity in regards to these quality products.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ian. Look, the reason I ask is because I've been looking for technology. Look, I've been in the sustainability circular economy world for over 30 years and advising governments and all that sort of stuff. And I've had some big discussions over the last sort of couple of weeks with government agencies, and especially talking to chief executives and premiers and all that sort of stuff, saying it's about time you actually step up, because you can't be asking big business to be doing all this stuff if you don't do it yourselves, because people don't realise that governments in Australia are actually exempt from reporting all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we're now in a space, and today I had another discussion at the Department of Education, and we're talking about they're asking how do we model it? And I said, about time. So it's good. I mean, as I said, it's catching up, but I'll connect with you.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
And then we can go from there and we can have a conversation. But thanks. That's why I just dipped in and just to sort of ask that, because we've had some big circular economy companies go into receivership in the last 6 months.
Absolutely. Yeah, they have made the news. So yeah, people do need to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So Ian and Suzanne, please do connect offline. That's what it's all about here, folks. It's connecting with people, whether you are in a meetup in real life and through the networking. And if you see someone here you want to connect with and you weren't able to catch them, just reach out to me after this. Like, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Telegram, and I'll put my links at the end of this. I'm on LinkedIn as well, easy to find. My name's on the thing here. But Ian, thank you so much for that. I'm going to get to some other updates. Was there anything else you want to just add before we go?
Yeah, really what we're sort of looking to try and expand on is, what I wanted to try and do is articulate sort of the power of our tech. But we feel that there's so many opportunities for tokenization across industries and verticals, where there are people that have got real knowledge and understanding about what the potential of tokenization can do, but probably don't really know where to start. And we feel that we can be that partner to be able to introduce and reduce that, and again, abstract away the complexity of Web3 technology, but really sort of bring that the opportunity that tokenization brings, because it's such a huge, again, for us, a huge opportunity across so many things that, again, we'd love to hear from you if you've got any ideas and initiatives. And like I say, please reach out to me.
Yeah, I'm just bringing up your final slide here right at the end. So just going really fast here, folks. There we go. Get started. So BLOCKv Labs, do request a demo, get in touch. There's a whole heap of stuff that we'll be doing. You'll hear from BLOCKv and Ian further. So Ian, thank you so much for that. I'm just going to round out with a few updates, folks. So a couple of events that are going on. So first of all, on the 12th of June, and I'm going to showcase some stuff. So stay tuned if you like live demo stuff. We've got some cool shit. I can say that. Some cool shit to show. Annual Calicupia. So a group called Calicu, they are all about women in digital. So AI, Web3, Metaverse. They've got founders galore. I've been to one of their anniversary events. It was a party. And I'm old. I don't party anymore. This was a party. And they've got this upcoming event on the 12th of June over here in Sydney, over at the Helix Collective. Helix Collective are a group of developers. They do really cool stuff in blockchain and other spaces. This is sponsored by Independent Reserve, so keep an eye out for that one. Here is the QR code, so do scan that if you're watching. Although if you are on the phone, I'll post links when I put this up on YouTube later on. I do realize that it's like, great, Mark, it's a QR code, but I'm actually watching this on the phone, so it's not going to work. I'll put the links up later. The next one is that DECA are doing a women's event as part of DECA Conference Week. It used to be called Blockchain Week. I think it's just called DeConference now. So DeConference, as you can see here, this is on the Gold Coast, June 16 to 18. You can get tickets. I'll be speaking, Arturo, my colleague, as well. I'll be doing a demo. There's an AI section there. We build some AI tools. I'll show you something next, but for that we've done for others, but you will be able to see that there. There's a lot of great people flying into the Gold Coast. So it's kind of like schoolies, but for adults. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but hey, it's the middle of the year rather than when all the high schoolers have just finished and they're around there. So it's probably a good thing. June 16 to 18 is going to be really cool. That is a Monday to Wednesday though. So this blockchain, the DECA women's group is on the Sunday. So it's the first kind of event. And hopefully if you're not too hungover from that, you'll be able to see and enjoy like a nice Monday conference. We'll see how we go. We've got these events on Luma. As you can see, you might have joined up on that. I've got a few other things to just highlight here. So if you haven't seen the website, we made it really interactive, and there's a whole couple of things that will be on there when you watch this meetup. So when this launches on YouTube, probably tomorrow after I download it, clean it up a bit and throw it up there, it'll be here as part of all the other previous, not all, I've got to list some more there, but for example, when we did one in March, you can go to this, you will see the YouTube. You don't have to go into YouTube. You are watching it through here. And whilst you're watching, you can actually see, okay, there's my face again. That's enough of me. We saw Sonic Down Under earlier there in March. There's buttons here. Simple explanation just gives, that's it, a simple explanation of what was spoken about during this. So you can see the takeaways, yada, yada. You will be able to ask your own questions as well. But this simple question one just says, you know, what this one was about. FAQs creates an FAQ for this. And then Ask AI is where you can ask a question. So, you know, did Mark say anything funny during this? Spelling mistakes are okay. AI doesn't care. So yes, I did say something funny. I said I get paid in pizzas, which is not really far from the truth. That's kind of funny, according to AI. And you can do that with podcasts as well. We do this podcast with Fableration. It's called Blockchain for Good. and you can see some of the other chats that we've done here and see what we spoke about there. But then more importantly, we've got advocacy tools. So one of the things that was commonly complained to us was that there's a lot of jargon in this space. Someone said zero knowledge proofs. What does that mean? Well, guess what? Not only can you ask these questions, you can type it in yourself. You can throw an article in there if you want to that was complicated. And you can press these buttons here. Eli 5 is explain it like I'm 5. So here is zero knowledge proofs like you're 5 years old. What if you're a bit more advanced? You want an intermediate explanation. Here is an explanation at that higher level. There is no excuse anymore with AI as a great translator tool to not understand things. So we're trying to make that friendly. Another one was if you're looking to get started in this space, Pathfinder is where you tell us about yourself. Say, I am a teacher. And what's your current job role? I just told you, teacher. I'm not technical. I've got no programming experience, or maybe you've got some. I'm not sure yet on what area to explore. Or you might say, I've heard about DeFi and NFTs. My primary goal is understanding the tech. Clicking that button there after a few little clicks will generate a little learning path for you that you can then click to get further information. So here is a little bit of a learning path. Here is the role of cryptocurrencies, introduction to decentralized apps, smart contracts for beginners. So based on what you input there at the top, if you said marketing, it'll have something related to marketing there. And as you click on each of these, there'll be an explanation. So just making all of that easier. That's on defi.org.au. There's a few other things in there. One more thing I wanted to highlight was that apart from the Red Belly podcast, we're doing some other stuff which is more at the institutional intersection of crypto. So a lot of banks, a lot of organizations, corporations are trying to look at blockchain technology. I put out a post which we'll just see load here for something new called FEX Insights. So FEX is a commodities group. They have backed innovation for the longest time. The first meetups we did were there. This is on location in a studio. You can see the video here, which will just load. And then I'll show you something that comes along with that, which is a companion website. So you won't be able to hear this because I didn't turn on the right settings, but I will be covering things like the news. I will then do interviews with people. I had an interview with my colleague Arturo, and we spoke about his role in doing some work with the RBA and doing some work with Red Belly and others. And then we do some education stuff. So Arturo will be my regular guest each week, but we'll bring in a different main guest. We might have Mike, we might have Ian, we might have others on there in this show, live in studio as much as possible, as well as a few international guests. But that's all going to be like at that higher level of what corporates need to hear. So if you need to convince your boss to look at crypto, there's not just the DGen talks, we're doing some stuff too. I know you can't hear it. I'll put the links out there later on. But to go along with that, just like we've done for Aus DeFi, and this is the thing, we build in this space as well. We're technical developers, so I can do stuff like this in a jiffy. This is FEX Insights companion app. You can click to watch the latest episodes. There is one, but the same kind of thing. You can click to see the simple explanation, the FAQs thing, or just ask a question. Give me some quotes from Arturo that might relate to, I don't know, startups. I don't know if he said anything there, but let's see. So as you can see here, here's some quotes from Arturo on the legal foundations in tokenization, on the challenges of bootstrapping liquidity and market creation, on the value chain approach for tokenization that startups might consider. So you can ask questions like that with the AI, or you can do the FAQ button, and you can see all those things just coming out there as well. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. It's looking a little bit laggy on my side. Can you guys still hear? If not, put something in the notes. No, all good. All right, so that FEX Insights thing is there. It's also got a blog about each episode, but we're going to do that weekly, just like I'm doing some stuff most of the time with Red Belly. So I'll have the Red Belly stuff. There's an Insights podcast that they have, FEX Insights as well. I do an AI one if anyone's interested. I am the podcast king, it seems. as well as these meetup events. But that's pretty much it, folks. And I will put all of this out when I download it tonight. I'll try to get it up on the defi.org.au website. So if you go here, defi.org.au, you will be able to see from the menu, for folks that just joined in late or weren't able to see the whole thing, you'll be able to see the meetups page, click on the latest meetups, or look at the other ones. We had Andrew Charlton here well before the elections. This was late last year, and you'll be able to talk to that. All right, Suzanne, go ahead. You've got a hand up.
So we're going to try and get Adelaide up and running in regards to people. So I'm just letting you know that I've spoken with Kate from OKX.
Yep.
And I just happen to live 2 doors down from one of the most Art Deco cinemas in Adelaide. And so I can get that all spaced. But I just need some help from the community of like, because the movie only goes for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think what we're all talking about is, and what's missing in Adelaide is there's this disconnection between all the people. So I'm just putting my hand up to say, look, I put my email address and I put my phone number in there. We'll have some conversations. It's in conjunction with the movie release in the Opera House and then up at Decca. And I'm seeing that there's an opportunity to be able to pull it out there. So, and you know that I'm holding the torch, because I think that
absolutely,
yeah, that this is what it's all about, and that I can see where it's all going. And so I sit in the background and I'm a newbie in all of this world. Like, I've actually been waiting for the world to catch up with the technology, because I've been trying to create the change for 30 years. So this is all, some of the stuff's new to me, but then all of a sudden it all makes 100% sense. So I just want to say thank you to welcome me in. And look, I'm talking to Mel from OKX on Friday, and I think we can make some really cool stuff happen, especially even to showcase even what's going on over in Sydney, and then we can bring it over here as well, and then what's actually happening in Adelaide as well.
Yeah, proper connections. That's what this is all about. And in speaking of, you know, the people that are in Adelaide, if anyone is in the room here, please do reach out to Suzanne. But also, I've got some folks that did reach out to me. There's one builder who's moved from Sydney. He went overseas for a bit. He's now based in Adelaide, and he's trying to connect with people there. So I need to connect you with him, Rahul. And then
Rahul and I are already we're dancing.
Okay, cool. But there's also others that are established. There's others like the Verita guys. There's others like I can't remember what TGC or something. There's a gaming group that's there. Those guys. I can't remember his name, JC or something like that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share with all of you that, like, because Jackson was actually in the car listening to the conversations as we were driving, and he had so much that he wanted to actually contribute.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the thing is that, because what we have to understand is that the young people, some young people, especially young people that have got parents like me, that are actually open and willing and all of that sort of stuff, they've actually got value to add to how we can actually create this to monetize everything. So yeah, look, I see, because what Kate's asking is, it's because when you actually look at that, look, I haven't seen the movie, but even from the clip and actually reading what it's all about, and then seeing what's happened at Token 2049 and what everyone's talking about connection to real world assets and all of that sort of stuff, I've been asking for that for 30 years. But so here we are. And that's the thing. So it's like, I don't want to be an island, and all I want to know, I want to share with everyone is that government here in South Australia, they know what they're doing, and they actually know that they've got a lot of money, and they want to, but they just need to be educated. So we just need to be able to work with them. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just on that note, with the working with them, I'm just going to show, and I showed this at the meetup before, but I get to do it live because I'm not up on stage here. But standwithcrypto.org is a website you all should go to. It started out in the US, and even though the election is done, it's still relevant because this is a connection to write to ministers, because now we get into the education part. So you can do things like, say, go to politician scores, and you can see all the different politicians here and the things that they have, you know, who is strongly supportive versus not so, or in this case, Julian Hill is somewhat against, unfortunately. But you can see why and where and how it's tagged there. And if you want to write to members in your profile, I believe there is, I have to sign in, but there is a way that you can write to members. So they hook that up. What we do on the Aus DeFi side, if you don't want to write from scratch, guess what? You can do this. Here's a support letter. So let's just say it's Andrew Charlton that I want to write to. He's the Minister for Parramatta. So I'll just go Australian Parliament. Again, spelling, who cares? It's fine. AI will fix it up. But this is not going to send a letter, right? What we've got on Aus DeFi is a way that we use AI with a few filters, and you can tell it's using the filters because I'll say blockchain good, and then I'll say, actually, let me type that one properly. Blockchain good, ducks are bad. I don't think ducks are bad. I'm just using it as an example. I want to propose, actually, I want to share industry insights. I'm a developer. It's economic opportunities, public benefits. I want this to be informal, short, less technical, few analogies. If I apply those changes and click generate, remember I said blockchain good, ducks bad. So here's blockchain good. Does it say anything about ducks? Sometimes it does. It should take that into account. I don't see it. But anyway, you can create letters and stuff there, which you can then copy that out and put it into, you know, anything where you want to write it just directly off your local council member's website. You might have their email. Usually those are all linked. Suzanne, sorry.
So I just wanted to say, because it's like, so the opportunity with the cinema is, with the Capri, is that there's 750 people. So that's how many seats there are. And here's an opportunity in Adelaide to showcase how we can bring all of those different silos all together. Look, I'm approaching the Office of the Chief Entrepreneur, state development, all of that as well. But we're bringing together, there's so many people that sit under the radar here in Adelaide, but I know they sit under the radar in the world. So look at it as a minimum viable product. Let's run it as a case scenario to bring everyone together to actually see that, you know, everyone has value to add, just like what you're showing here, Mark, with, you know, the people that every month that you bring in add value in different capacities, because it's not one way, it's many ways. There's many chains, there's many ways to do things. Sure. And that's what we're all doing. So
young and old too. Yeah, young and older.
Look, you know, I mean, as I said, like today I sat in the Department of Education and they're like, wow, you've got all this behind you. And I said, yeah, I've just needed technology to be able to, instead of creating spreadsheets, I've just needed people to catch up. And that's what it comes down to. So it doesn't matter. And it's like you talk, and, you know, Jackson's 12, he comes up with solutions. It's like we all need to get together, and that's what it all comes down to. And it's about monetizing impact and rewarding that impact. And everyone is doing that in many different ways. And
I'll reach out to you after this, because there's also the community groups like South Start is based down there. There's also what do you call it? Stone and Chalk and the folks there. So there's definitely some other ones to connect.
And Creative Cubes, who are deep in Melbourne. I don't think they've got anything in the city, but they're actually opening up here as well. So yeah, but I see, look, you know, like I look of Craig and Danielle from South Start coming in, definitely 100%. We just need to, you know, it's the opportunity for massive shift. And, you know, if it's a 10-minute film from OKX talking about how, like, it's no longer this scary world, and because I've just been talking to a whole load of people that are in the MLM and affiliate marketing space, and I'm trying to get them to understand that it's different as well, and we have to give everyone a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about the MLM kind of stuff. I've got some views on that. Hopefully,
100%.
But sorry, because we just do have to wrap up. And before, so I was trying to get in that people might not know what we're talking about. So I was just trying to get in that this is a movie that OKX are putting on during, I think it's during Vivid here in Sydney. Vivid's on right now. It might be just at the end of it or something like that, but it's called Mild West. So because crypto is like the wild, wild west, this is something that they're putting on as a premiere at the Opera House. You can see here Kate Cooper's, and I linked it in the chat, her post on that. There's an article that people can refer to. But Suzanne, thank you for everything that you do there. I'll reach out to you after this and just put you in touch with some other people that we know that, should connect to what it is that yourself, and glad to see that you've connected with Rahul. He reached out to me, so can tick the box there already, which is great. But I did see Karen Cohen is in the room. Karen, are you there? Or maybe not. Karen is running the Deca Women's group that is having the event. I've got it here. I'm going to find the actual link and share that just on the chat, and then we'll round out, folks. So just give me 1 second. But it is the conference that it's an event just before the actual conference. So I'll put in the link here. Oh, I pasted the actual thing rather than, here we go. All right, so this is off Luma as well, so you should be able to see that. So Women of Deca, I Love Crypto cocktail party. So if you are going to the Deca conference, please do check this one out from 6:30 on Sunday, June 15. And as I mentioned earlier, the Calicupia event is earlier in the week. I'll be flying down that weekend probably to check this out. But folks, I do have to round out. I've been in calls since 7:30 this morning. So, you got to know that I do love this community. The meeting recording will get to me shortly, and I will be able to put that up online for tomorrow morning, and we'll get it on the DeFi website. Anything that you missed here, please do feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. I'll put all the links to all the speakers and stuff in the YouTube as well. So Aus DeFi Association on YouTube. If you have missed that, so just so you see here, because this is where you'll be able to watch the replay. So Australian DeFi Association, you'll be able to find that. Aus DeFi Association. I should know my own thing. So there you go, Aus DeFi Association. You'll be able to see the meetup soon. But folks, thank you so much for joining in and taking your time out of a Wednesday evening. And we will see you next month for another event. Cheers.
Thanks, Mark.